All right. This is perfect linking. Hey, Sanjada, how are you?
Doing good. Me too. How are you?
I am great and happy to be here on this Thursday evening. Yeah, old people staying up late.
Yeah, yeah. Nowadays it's late. 9 o'clock is late for me. It didn't used to be that way, but I gotta admit, nowadays it's starting to feel that way.
Yeah, my bedtime is much better when it's 10 o'clock, but I still can't make it. It's usually past midnight, and I'm trying to do better at that. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Poly Pimps podcast. My name is Me Too, and we have Sunjata with us from the Sunshine and Rainbows podcast. So make sure you go follow on YouTube. Are you guys on IG as well?
Yeah, we're on IG, YouTube, and Facebook and TikTok at Sunshine Rainbows.
Okay.
SUNSHAN Rainbows.
All right. Let me I'm gonna type it in too later. Um I am putting the link in the comment for you guys if you want to come on here and have a discussion with us. Join the discussion. If you have questions, you can type it in or join us with voice or video. This is the link to click on for you guys to be able to enter the studio with us and be here live. Um, Tonight we have a very interesting topic. A lot of people were very excited about it when we put it out there because they've been asking to talk about that kind of stuff. And I mean, yeah, I think a lot of us, a lot of people have have been on one end, like on either end of the spectrum. So some people they talk openly about it. Um, doesn't matter which end they were on, but others they don't want to talk about it at all. Um, so yeah, I was very excited that you could join us tonight because I remember we had a previous conversation about that, and it was very refreshing too, because it's not typically what people would expect.
Yeah.
So, hi, Kasan. Thank you for joining us. Um, do you guys have a drink? I do have my little beverage. It's clear. Oh, yours is clear, but it could be moonshine.
Could be. You never know.
Because it's in a, what do you call those again? The container.
Oh, the mason jar.
Mason jar. It's in a mason jar. It might be. But yeah. So thank you. This is your second time on our show.
Yeah, yeah.
And your podcast just started again, right? For
Yes.
season two.
Season two.
So would you go on your first episode?
Yeah, yeah. The first episode was just released on Tuesday, 2 days ago.
Okay. So what
Yeah.
should we expect for season two?
For season two, you can expect an elevated production. you know, we
Okay.
we did some, we did like a photo shoot and some got some video reels,
Okay.
so that we can have the new intro, like new photos. You'll notice like new photos, and we elevated our studio effects.
Okay. All
you
right.
know, you'll
I'm
notice a difference
excited.
there. Yeah, and we actually, I know this is going to sound funny, but we actually like wanted to be a little more presentable.
Okay.
Season one, it was like a pilot. We just want to see what people be into this, what we're talking about, what they like our vibe, and it was like
Mhm.
people were into it. So like, okay, let's actually shave, do our hair, and do actually put on a nice t-shirt and sit on the couch and like really take it up a notch in season two. So I'm excited because just the production elements alone, you'll see a difference, especially if you saw parts of season one. But
Absolutely.
in addition to that, we're going into more of the topics that a lot of people talk about concerning polyamory. Like,
Okay.
so for example, episode 1 is parenting.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Parenting and polyamory. We talk about sexual liberation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we talk about navigating meta relationships on another.
Okay. Yeah.
So things like that. A lot of fun episodes going into some of the details and the nuances of being polyamorous and liberated.
Okay. I know I really, really enjoyed season one. And I can't even remember how I stumbled upon it, but I was like, oh, yes, I need this in my life. And once
Hey,
I started, I could not stop. It was in my car as I'm driving. And then when I get home, I'm like, okay, I need to get to the next episode.
wow.
And it was so because
Thank
I talk fast. I'm trying to slow down.
you.
But also the way that you guys spoke, it was very clear and anyone could understand. And I remember as I was listening to so many of the episodes, I kept saying, yes, you just putting to words all the stuff I've been thinking that I don't know how to put into words because I
Yeah,
don't consider myself to be great with words.
yeah,
And I'm usually like kind of matter of fact and just like three words and I'm good to go. But
yeah.
you guys really explained and went into details. And again, the way that you explained everything, it made perfect sense that anyone could understand. So I
Thank,
really enjoy. So I am looking forward to season two.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. But so sans plus tarder, we are gonna start talking about um the unspoken truths of about cheating.
Let's do it.
So what I would like to ask, what is cheating? And are we talking monogamy here? Are we talking non monogamy? And are we just talking in general? I would like to know what cheating is to everybody
Mhm.
because I think we all have different ideas of what it is, but we probably all know what it feels like.
Mm, that's a good.
So,
That's a good distinction. Um, I think the cool thing about us is that we get to talk about it from all the angles because we've experienced monogamous relationships. We've been in, long-term monogamous relationships in our lives, and we've also been living this liberated love style. At least the way that we practice. I know how you practice it, and the way
yes.
I practice it. Called consensual non-monogamy and polyamory, and cheating has its own context there that's different from what cheating. I guess there's some similarities, but there's different nuances and scenarios here than
Exactly.
it is there. So I
Yes.
guess it would be cool to kind of talk about them both separately, then kind of tease out some of the distinctions. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. So I don't know. I would like to start with cheating and monogamy just because we want to come from where we've been.
Okay.
And from what I've seen, from what I've experienced,
Hmm.
and from what we've been told, cheating is the act of engaging basically with somebody else than your significant other on some levels, right?
Yeah.
Because it could be because some people say emotional cheating.
Emotional
And
cheating. Hmm.
yeah, you don't have to sleep with somebody to cheat. And hey, Sky. Then, of course, you have the physical cheating that some people can forgive emotional cheating, but not the physical. And sometimes it's the other way around.
Hmm.
Um, for me, when I was monogamous, it was practically the physical act to me that was considered cheating because
Hmm.
until you were in the act of sleeping with somebody, I don't feel like it was really cheating.
Okay.
That's how I viewed it as a when I lived monogamously.
I think I would add to that, for some people, cheating is literally just talking and flirting with someone outside of your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, partner. It could be watching porn. That is considered cheating,
I
to
forgot
some people.
that.
Um, you know, it's a lot of like so many things. Being friends with people that you had a relationship with, a romantic relationship with previous to your current partner. They could consider that cheating. Like you got to cut people off from
Yeah,
the past. So there's so many levels to,
erase the past.
yeah, erase the past. So many levels, or so many examples of how cheating can be viewed in monogamy. So yeah, so the physical, the emotional, the
Yes.
flirt, the watching porn, you know,
Yeah.
all those things.
Even just looking at somebody in
Looking
passing.
could get some people in trouble.
Yeah. Like, what are you
Mm,
looking at? I'm
yeah,
right here.
yeah, yeah.
So, um, so what would we consider cheating in non-monogamy?
So I think cheating in non-monogamy is really more focused on like not communicating what you're doing outside of your current partner or partners.
Hmm.
So for example, again, dating someone else to going all the way to being physical with someone else without communicating that to your current partner or partners, that's something you're interested in doing, is something that you're pursuing, is something you're doing, and or that you're taking action towards, without letting them know. That's still considered cheating in consensual non-monogamy, because a big part of it is the consensual part.
Right.
And it's a huge undercurrent and expectation in consensual non-monogamy and polyamory, is that we're honest, we're transparent, we're communicating. And when folks start pursuing other connections but aren't being honest about it, that's definitely considered cheating as well.
Right. I want to come back to that. I'm gonna give myself a note so I can come back to it.
Okay.
um, so that was communicating new connections. Okay. Come back to that. So yes. Um, so some people were talk okay, so I know so many people in my life, in my circle, in my community, that have been cheated on or that have cheated.
Mhm.
And some they just can't stop.
Mhm.
They don't want to stop. And some, a lot of, and I'm going to refer to as women because that's been the experience that I've had
Mhm.
seeing. Usually the women stay in spite of finding out. Sometimes they choose to be violent with not their partner, but the person that the partner is cheating with, while the partner truly has no consequences coming his way.
Wow.
Right. So to me, it's always like, okay, because we usually tend to be mad at the third party
Mhm.
instead of the person that made the commitment to us. And that's a big thing that we talked about in our community. Like, you should be mad at the person who made the commitment to you because the third party doesn't owe you anything. Then
Mhm.
some people ask, well, what if they knew this person was married? Still, to me, it's like, yeah, they can know that the person is married. They can choose not to engage with that person. But at the end of the day, they've got nothing to lose technically. It's
Mhm.
not their relationship. It's this person's responsibility to decide not to break your agreement. So they can go ahead and do whatever they feel like doing with your partner.
Mm,
And I'm never going to say, well, because they knew you were married, they should not have done it. Honestly, it's not their responsibility. It's your person responsibility.
yeah.
And that it's another thing too that used to make me feel uncomfortable when people used to be jealous. Like if I have a boyfriend and he was jealous because somebody else liked me, and all of a sudden I felt threatened because it's like, you don't respect me. You seeing me as basically you tell me that you don't trust me. But then they always say, well, it's the other person that I don't trust. And I'm like, well, you only need to trust me. Don't worry about this person. They can come talk to me. They
Mhm,
can do whatever they want. At the end of the day, ultimately, I hold the key to us being in that position or not, because they can come at me. You don't need to be mad at that person.
mhm,
You can
mhm.
be mad at me if I engage with them and keep going in that direction. That's all. So I always feel like we're always mad at the wrong person when
Right.
it comes to cheating. So
Well, I have a question.
mhm.
I heard you mention like out throughout your life, you've seen and witnessed a lot of cheating, a lot of people that you know have cheated or whatever. Something I've always heard, because I only know it primarily from the guy side.
Mhm.
Um, I hear that like women cheat just as much as men. They just don't get caught. Is that a true statement based on your experiences?
I think so. Because I think because most of the time you're not looking at a woman to be a cheater, right? So a lot of times you may overlook some signs that this person may show
Hmm.
because naturally you don't think of a woman as a cheater.
Hmm.
But also the truth to that is I feel like a woman is very it's is a planner, right? We pay attention to details. We usually do very detailed stuff. So we're going to plan everything.
Hmm.
From what I've seen, I'm not saying men are not planners, but in general,
Hmm.
women are the ones planning everything.
Hmm.
So they know how to navigate around that kind of stuff. So the few that probably got caught, it's because either they wanted to be caught, they were sick of hiding, or they just didn't care pretty much.
Hmm.
Because I truly believe that if a woman decides she's gonna cheat on you, you're not gonna find out until she's ready for you to find out.
Wow, wow. So, wow, that's okay. And then in terms of numbers, you think, yeah, people cheat, not just it's not just
Yeah,
all men cheat. It's like, and
no,
first of all
people
men
just cheat. People are
people
just
cheat no matter
people.
their gender, right? No
Yeah.
matter their
Sometimes I
sex.
think sometimes the reason why women may hold back a little bit more than men is because they don't want to be labeled as sluts
Hmm.
or, all the different names that they could acquire along the way. So a
Yeah.
lot of times that's why they may refrain from doing that. But once they do it, it's like, yeah, that's it. That's the end of it.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Okay.
I mean, do you agree that all men cheat, or do you think it's just people in general? Because
I,
people always say, oh, all men cheat, and I don't believe that.
well, no, I don't believe all men cheat. A lot do.
Hmm.
A lot in my experience. A lot do, but definitely not all. And I'll say that once I got into the consensual non-monogamy groups and spaces and places, and the polyamory groups, etc., and seeing people's stories on how they got here, I
Hmm.
saw that there was it seemed like even more women who were interested in being free and being able to see more than one person, whereas the stereotype in my mind was that that's something that a man would desire more than anything
Right.
else. Men are the ones who want to chase and have more than they can handle, or just more than one person, etc., in their life. But when I got very early on, I was like, oh, it's a lot of women driving this. It's a lot of women. Like, for example, when married couples come in, the majority of the married couples is because the woman wanted to open the relationship up. She wanted
Right,
to explore non-monogamy or polyamory and brought the man along versus the other
right,
way around. So that opened my mind. And then of course people talk about cheating. A lot of, people in general, no matter their gender or sexual, identities, they were like, I used to be a cheater. Not all, but some.
right. Yeah,
I wouldn't even say most, but some people say they got to consensual non-monogamy because they realized that they were cheating when they were trying to force themselves into a monogamous dynamic, but that just
hmm,
wasn't who they were. And when they found out that there's people who are open to being non-monogamous in ethical consensual ways, it was like a relief that they
right.
found this community of people.
Yeah, absolutely. We already have some comments. Let's see. Jean said, people simply need to be truthful. Totally agree. Agree that the cheating partner bears the most responsibility, not the third person. Absolutely true that women cheat as much as men. Yes. we support that. Yes.
Mhm.
um so like I said, I've seen the cheating and sometimes people just accept it um for for example, I know this person. It's a longtime friend. And for as long as I've known him, I've always known him to have two women. He has his wife, well, at least, let me say, at least two
Mhm.
women. I know the wife, and then he has another woman. I don't count the other ones because there's always been a few that come and go.
Mhm.
But this person has those two main women in his life. And I know that there's no way the wife doesn't know. Sometimes I ask myself because I don't know if they're still together or whatever, but sometimes I ask, I'm like, as a wife, there's got to be something in you because there's going to be that feeling, that intuition that will tell you when something is not right. And so she was still in the marriage, even though she pretty much knew. I'm gonna go on a limb and say 100% that she knew.
Mhm.
So sometimes I wonder, why do people stay when they so mad? Just like another person I know, the wife, he gets caught more than I can imagine, and he gets a pass every time. She gets mad, he buys a nice present, and
Mhm.
then she calms down, and then the cycle starts over. And
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
almost like they looking for that excitement, like, let me be so mad at you, and then for everything to, because sometimes they say makeup sex is the best sex. So I'm like, are they looking for that high? Is that why they go through this? Because I can't imagine feeling that hurt that many times and saying yes all over again.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about some of the reasons that we've seen and learned that people cheat, right?
Yes.
Um, and I,
But before we say that, so is there really ever a good reason for cheating or to justify cheating? Let's ask the audience that. Could
okay.
we ever justify
Mhm.
cheating? So we're not condoning anything. We have a big comment here. Let's read it before we get into it. I don't cheat. Disclaimer. I have never done so, even as a young man. I think that it is weak. If you are in a relationship and want it to be open, just let your partner know. If your partner is okay with it, then it is all good. If you guys disagree, then go your separate ways. So I think we could actually go on this particular
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
So if you are in a relationship and want it to be open, just let your partner know. Joe,
Mhm.
I wish it was that easy. Is
I
it
wish it was
really
that
that
simple.
easy? right?
I wish it was that simple.
I want to let you speak on that as a man, and then I'll speak from a woman's perspective.
Okay. Yeah, I think I appreciate the perspective and respect the perspective. I just think that it's way more complex than that in terms of what people are weighing. Um, so I know people, I've known people, I know people, who've cheated, who've already had families, for example, and for them, the value of keeping their family together, um, coupled with their inability to stay monogamous because they're just naturally not monogamous. But just, we live in a society that is, props up monogamy as the cultural norm, as
Mm-hmm.
the moral, right thing to do. Um, and it's like, especially if you want a family, it's like you need to get married, so you have kids in the nuclear family dynamic, and you don't have a broken household. There's all these like
Right.
checks and balances that kind of put up barriers of stigmatized you know thoughts and opinions on why people should get married, stay married, have kids, raise the kids together, etc. And if you're someone who is what's the word, you feel um, con- connected or accountable to those values and norms, and then you just so happen to learn about yourself that you cannot stay monogamous, then the only option is to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
It's to hide it. There's a lot of and there's a lot of consequences to not hiding it. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, how you're viewed in your community.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are connected to, you know, community in terms of like religious communities, just local community in general, family networks and communities that have these opinions and views of them as a family person, and etc. And also they're just their wife and their kids and how they're viewed in that dynamic, and how they want to continue to be there for them, and how it would crush them to not. So it's not safe for a lot of people to have the conversation as it's put here, and if they're okay with it, cool. And if they're not, go your separate ways. Like, when you have kids, you have a house together, you have investments together, you
Yes.
have a brand in your community together. That's not that easy just to walk away from, just because you have other connections on the side.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. And I'm gonna piggyback on that with also um one of the reasons why I feel like people can cheat. Now, when I say cheating, it's like emotional cheating and the physical cheating, just because in monogamy they consider all that to be cheating, is because they don't feel like they have a safe space for certain thoughts. Let's say, for example, um, the person wants to share something with their partner, whether that's a wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever that person is to you. Um, but if they tried before and they've been shamed for it, right? Do you think they're going to come to you again when that same thought comes back? They're not. And I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, they're going to find somebody who is willing to let them share who
Hmm.
they are
Hmm.
without feeling shame or anything about it. So connection starts establishing, attachment starts to unfold.
Hmm.
And it sometimes some physical can come with it. So I think a lot of times too, people cheat because they can't really, they don't feel like they have a safe space in their partners. But again, we're dealing with monogamy where they tell you your partner needs to be your
Everything.
everything,
Right.
your
Right.
confidant, your best friend,
Yeah.
your everything. So whatever it is that you're thinking, that you're going through, you should be able to share with your partner. But then when you go to that partner and say, baby, I've been thinking about, I fantasize about two women in my life or two men in my life. And they're like, shame on you. What's the
Mhm,
point of being married if you're going to think about other people, blah, blah, blah.
mhm, mhm.
Guess what? The next time they think about it, they're going to go talk to Sue over there, who's willing to listen without judgment or
Right.
calling them names or anything like that. And that's how things start to build up, you
Yeah.
know?
And
So,
that's one example, and one of the things about compulsory monogamy, meaning that again, monogamy is just the norm and everyone does it. And if you don't, something's wrong with you.
right.
That's pretty much the message that we all get growing up. And one of the things about that is a lot of times a lot of us will get into that like monogamous long-term relationship in our early 20s, just early adult years. And the reality about being human is that we evolve.
So
There's
much.
certain things we don't even know about ourselves yet when we make that commitment. And now
Hmm.
I'll speak for myself. There were
Hmm.
things that I didn't know about myself when I made that commitment and I got married in my early to mid 20s. And
Hmm.
like, for example, I didn't know I was polyamorous.
Right.
I needed to be in a long, multi-year relationship of total commitment to realize that this didn't fit. And
Yeah.
I hate that it had to go that way, but we'll get there. But I know that to be true. I've seen it happen for so many of the people around me over the years, where they're committing with their best thinking, their best intentions in that moment. The problem with anything that's standardized in that way, that says you have to be the same person at 20 that you are at 35,
Hmm.
that's just unrealistic.
It is.
And the reason why you started this out saying that I know so many people who cheated and been cheated on, and I started out saying I know so many people who cheated and been cheated on, is because there's religious doctrine, there's societal doctrine, and then there's humans.
Yes.
Right? Humans are wild. We are nature. We are natural things. We evolve, we grow, we change. The doctrine doesn't change.
Hmm.
The societal laws and norms don't change in terms of what those expectations are to fit
Right.
into compulsory not monogamy, because that's tied to so many other things. I won't get too deep, but it's tied into capitalism and all these other things. That
Hmm.
is one of the reasons why all those things are, propped up the way they are and the ways they are. Um, and as a result, no matter what, since I've been this a little kid to being my age now, people who are in monogamous relationships continue to have to face and deal with cheating.
Right. Exactly. We're gonna go to Gerald. He said something else. I think that some people just don't want to start over. They don't know if the next person will not do the same. Sometimes there is too much involved in the relationship, such as time, family, society, family. Um, yes, and I think that's kind of like uh, a little extension of what you were talking about. Um, to me, it is that simple. If I have a fantasy, I share it with my mate. Cheating is selfish. I am so happy for you that you have that space
Mhm.
and that you can share your thoughts, your desires with your mate without the backlash, or for lack of a
Right.
better word, I
Or
guess.
and to get full acceptance, because
Right.
that's not
Yes.
everybody's story.
A lot.
There's one other thing too. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off though. I want you to
Oh no,
finish.
no, no, no. I'm done. Yeah.
There was another point I forgot that I wanted to make in terms of why people stay, in these
Mhm.
situations. A lot of times, especially for women, and especially historically, they depended on the man to be the breadwinner,
Right.
and women just didn't have the option of
To
leaving.
Yep.
So men held all the power. They can go
Mhm.
out, they could cheat, they could do whatever, and women stay because what are they going to do next?
Right.
How are they going to be able to maintain that lifestyle for themselves and their children without that man? Like,
Exactly.
how many women, what was the stigma around being a single mom? What
Mhm.
what has it it's gotten a little better, but it's still there,
It's still there.
you know. So there's
Because
so
sometimes
many
people look
reasons.
at you with pity.
Yeah, there's so many reasons why, women will stay even after getting cheated on over and over, because the way society has been structured for
Hmm.
many, 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 generations,
Right.
it privileges men to have more leeway and freedom in that way as well, because of
Exactly.
the economics of it all.
And so I always like to take my family as an example because I can on I can talk better about my experience. And growing up as a kid, I saw my dad having two families simultaneously. It was us over here and then the other family over there. Now, you can feel the tension between the women, but when it came to the kids, we crossed over. We went over there, they came over here, we spent the night, they spent the night, days, whatever. They did not want us to not be brothers and sisters. But as kids, you pick up on little things and you can tell that there's tension. But when it came to the kids, the women, they got along for the sake of us, right? And I'm sure they didn't necessarily they felt like they didn't have a choice, because at this point, maybe it was a competition. I don't know. I never got a chance to speak to them about it. And honestly, I don't know that I ever had the desire to find out why they each accepted, because it wasn't like, oh, this family was over and then now this one started. It was, oh, this kid is born this year over here. Next year, another one is born over there. So it was still happening. And even in my neighborhood, people that I knew, all the women, they were getting cheated on. However, if any men looked at those women in a way that suggested, oh, I may like you, we talked about how, they blame the other people. Those women, they would get in trouble with their husbands or their partners because somebody liked them. Then they don't have to like this person back. The mere fact that the guy liked them, it's their fault. Guess
Hmm.
what? They can get a beat down for that. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So it it's so it's such a toxic environment, and the what society allowed men to get away with. And I don't know that it's ever really gonna change. Things are
Hmm.
getting better to where women can do certain things, but at the end of the day, I feel like society will continue to say, oh, they're just men, they're just boys. That's what they do, that's what men do. And I hope there will be one day where people don't get excused for their behaviors based on their gender.
Yeah, I think we're living that change, though. I didn't know any ethical, open, non-monogamous people when I was growing up. I
Right.
didn't know any women who were able to walk around with their head held up and proclaim that they date multiple men
Hmm.
publicly, like I see now.
Right.
Um, you know, like the word polyamory is mainstream now.
Hmm.
And I was exploring it for the first time, you know, 10 years ago, or a little, or like say 10, 15 years ago. It wasn't mainstream. I hadn't heard about the term. I literally had to Google, can you love two people at the same time? And that's how I stumbled across the term. And this is
Hmm.
going back to probably like 2010, 2011. So it's still fairly, new, but at the same time, it's picking up steam where women are, I say women and men now understand that they have a choice. So a lot of men like me are rejecting my privilege
Yes.
and saying, I want to engage in a very transparent, honest way with women and let y'all know, yeah, I'm into you, but I want to date other women too. And I'm
Mhm.
also rejecting my privilege by saying, and I'm okay with you also dating other men
Doing the same. Yeah,
or women, or if it's if it's good for me, then it's good for you. And I'm not trying
exactly.
to hold women back. And I'm not the only one. There's
Right,
gangs of us out there, of other men who are secure enough, um, in themselves. And I don't know what else it is about me, because I grew up in a traditional Christian household. I grew up in a traditional African American community. I didn't see any of this, but
right.
for whatever reason, the way I'm wired, it just didn't feel right for me to have the desires that I had, and to then say that someone else, the women I'm
And
into,
not.
they can't have those same desires.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll also say another thing for me though is I don't like drama, right?
Right.
I don't got time to be lying.
Right.
I don't
So
got
much to
time to
keep
be
up with.
lying. And yeah, so much to keep up with and getting caught and all. I ain't got time for all that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, one thing I never liked, I think, like, you could do anything to me, you could say an insulting thing to me, it wouldn't get to me. But if you called me a liar, it was like
Mm,
you will see the fires come out of me. For some reason, that word was always. And I remember, even as a teenage, well, as a kid, I always told the truth. Even when I knew I was going to get in trouble, I would tell the truth. Now, when I transitioned to teenage years, it's like when my dad told me, well, you can't see your boyfriend. Well, I said lying to go see him. So
mm,
that was different, right? Um, but I don't like to for people to think of me as liars. So I try not to put myself in those situations.
mhm.
So the fact that you have to keep up with so many lies, eventually you're going to forget one of them. And what then? That's when you get caught, right?
Yeah.
um so I mean, we're going to get into it, but not to say, like I said, I have been on both sides of that baton. um but I'm going to elaborate a little bit later and explain my circumstances, because we also basically this conversation is supposed to be about the unspoken truth and why do people do what they do. But before we get to that, we have a couple of comments. Sky said they say F that. I'm pretty sure it was from an earlier comment. Talia said women have learned to love themselves so they don't fall for these shenanigans anymore. Yes, we have to educate our sons differently. I agree. We have to stop the cycle. I
Mhm.
am doing a really hard job with my sons to teach them different mindsets, but it's a little bit hard when the other half is doing something different. So I can just tell them my truth, and then later on they can decide which
Mhm.
direction they want to choose. I agree that people do change. Sometimes people had no experience being in multiple relationships before getting into a union. They feel that they have one life to live and want to have a different experience. Still, I believe that you should share how you feel with your partner and let them choose. You would be surprised that your partner may feel the same way. Being in the healthcare field, I feel that it is wrong to expose your partner to potential venereal diseases. What if the third person? I am with you, Sanjada. Don't be afraid to be you.
Can I speak to that real
Okay.
quick?
Yes. Yes.
Um, so is it Jean? Or is I'm
Yes.
pronouncing it correctly? Jean.
Jean
Okay.
Gerald. Hmm.
So I appreciate your comments, Jean. I just want to share, like you said, you would be surprised that your partner may feel the same way as you. Well, it could go the other way as well. Like it went for me when I did share, because I didn't want to lie. I didn't
Right.
want to cheat. And I told my now ex-wife after 6 years of marriage, and ultimately after 5 years of marriage, I let her know what I was feeling and experiencing inside of me. And then I started going to counseling, on and off for 6 years, to suppress what was inside of me. by year 11, I could no longer suppress my truth. I wanted to live my polyamorous truth and live monogamously. And I told her, and we had two children at the time. They were both young. Um, and she wasn't with it. She didn't want to go on that journey with me. And it caused her to ask me to leave. And she literally gave me divorce papers not too long thereafter. And I was crushed. I was heartbroken because I did not love her. I did not want to be in that marriage, but there was no part of her that wanted any parts of being in a polyamorous dynamic. So we were at odds, and I wasn't willing to budge. She wasn't willing to budge. So the marriage ended, and we both were devastated in different ways for different reasons, but I was devastated. So there's a flip side to that. You may be surprised that they are feeling the same way or a similar way, but there's also the chance that you're taking a risk that they won't. I know many people who met a similar crossroad and they chose to cheat. In fact, I had, let's call them elders or old head. I call them my old heads who told me, you do whatever you need to do to keep your family together. You do what you need to do on the side, but don't mess up your family. Like it was like, yeah, if you gotta cheat, you gotta cheat, but don't break up your family.
Right.
I couldn't do that. I had to be honest with, my now co-parent. And it cost me my family. And that technically, not really. I still have my kids, and now she and I have a solid relationship as well. But I'm still in my kids' lives, et cetera. But the nuclear family dynamic that we had, was destroyed.
Right. And to piggyback on that, also, once the cat is out of the bag, right, it's hard to get back to normal. Because if I tell my partner, because I've been in that situation where I thought I could, again, trust my partner and tell him how I'm feeling. Hey, this is what I'm experiencing. I would like to experience more than one person, whichever way that is. And again, at the time, I didn't know what polyamory was. I just knew I wanted something more. Um, I didn't know the term, I didn't know. I just knew that I had more to give and more to receive. So when I tried to talk to my partner about it, oh, it was like, how dare you even say things like that? What is the point of being married if you're gonna want to be with other people? You should be ashamed of yourself. And the list goes on and on. And again, I tried to be brave one more time and bring those things and kind of explain my stand on it. And I was met with the same energy once again. So, guess what? I stopped talking to you because, first of all, I couldn't trust you to, and it wasn't even the fact that I wanted him to go along, but the fact that I couldn't even open up and talk freely about it to you, who's supposed to be my friend. So I realized we didn't have a friendship and I didn't have the support. So I stopped talking to you. I found other people to talk to about it that could understand what I was going through. And so, yes, when you bring it up to your partner that, honey, I think this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling, and they say those things to you like, you should not, because you're married, guess what? This person now is not going to be able to trust you because now in the back of their mind, they're going to be thinking, well, since I'm not doing what he wants, he might be doing something out there even when you're not, right? They're going to constantly be thinking that because now that you've put yourself out there, that you thinking you desire those things, well, now you must be getting it for sure if this person is not giving it to you. So it's not always that easy. I am happy for you that you are in a setup where you can feel safe to talk to your partner about your desires and your fantasies and all that stuff. And they can be there with you, support you through it however they can. But not everybody has that opportunity to where they can be themselves, they can talk to that person and be okay. Usually that's like the beginning of the end
Yeah.
once you bring up those conversations, because now it's a constant like, so what are you doing out there? Because you said you wanted to do this, and
Mhm.
since I'm not giving it to you, you must be getting it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Tough.
not always that easy.
Just the way society is set up is so tough, you know. And one of the reasons why when I came out as polyamorous, I've been doing so loudly and publicly is because, I'm an educator and like an activist type person by nature. So
Mhm.
I looked at it as by me coming out, by me being public, by me being honest, it can help people. It can help people because I feel like the more people that know that there's actually a community of people who are consensually non-monogamous and polyamorous, so that they know that that's an option, it can help clear the field for all the monogamous people out there who are truly monogamous, so that folks stop getting their hearts broken. Like it should be
Exactly.
very clear. And I'm happy because young people do know. Young people coming up who are like middle school, high school, they do know the difference.
They're figuring
And
it out.
so it's a lot of them will have a lot clearer, not completely clear, but a lot clearer
Mhm.
playing field between folks who are monogamous and folks who are non-monogamous. Now, here's the thing. Again, I also study, human nature. I study brain science, all these different things. The fact of the matter is, we are always evolving and changing. So there's people like for me, I didn't come into this understanding of myself until I was in my late 20s. Like I didn't know I was this way in high school and in college. I didn't know. And I wasn't someone who dated a lot of people. I was pretty much always had a girlfriend and I was chill. So like this just the way society is structured and this whole idea of, till death do us part, that if
Right.
you make an agreement about what you
You
want to
can't break
do,
it. You can't
you can't
change
break
it.
it for the rest of your life. Like that's just not sustainable. It'll never be sustainable, you
Or it
know?
can't change.
Yeah, or that you can't change. That'll just never be sustainable. And as long as society continues to prop up, success looks like marriage and nuclear family, you're still going to have it happening. But I'm glad that we are able to have these conversations out loud and in public, so that more people can choose their path in a way that's going to reduce harm. It's going to reduce harm for them and others.
Right. I totally agree with that. The time is flying by. Oh my God, it's almost 10 o'clock. But I always said that I am so glad I have discovered myself, yes, later in life, but not too late for my children,
Hmm.
because they have access to what I know now, and they can get to this stage that I discovered in my 30s a lot faster, a lot sooner than I was able to. They can discover it now in their teenage years, young years. We're talking because we talk about polyamory in my household.
Hmm.
This is not a hush hush
Same.
topic. Yeah, so my kids, well, the little one, he truly does. He's in his own world. He doesn't really
Hmm.
get it or truly understands or care to really. But my oldest, he's 15. We've talked about it because he had questions too. Can you like somebody, two people at the same time? I said, absolutely. So that's truly what opened the door to talk about polyamory in my house with him when
Hmm.
he asked me those questions. So that's when I elaborated and stuff like that. Then I let him know it's okay. Absolutely. You just have to be honest, transparent, upfront about your thoughts and everything. So I am hoping, my hope for my kids is for them to be able to have access to all the new skills and things like that, to discovering yourself and all that at a much younger age than we were able to because of society. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. So have you ever been cheated on, that you
Ooh,
know?
have I ever been cheated on that I know of? I don't think so. Yeah, I've
Lucky
never.
you.
Yeah, I never had a. Yeah, I never had like a been cheated on situation. The only time that something like that happened, like the person told me. Excuse me. Oh my goodness, I got to sneeze all of a sudden. Um, Try to hold my nose so I don't be so loud. But yeah, I remember a situation where me and a girlfriend were like in like transition, trying to figure it out, and then she's like, "Well, I was with somebody else, last night," type of thing. And it hurt. It felt like, dang, she done moved on. Like I thought we was
Right.
still um, but yeah, no, I never been like where I caught someone in a lie. Like you didn't tell me you was messing. Nah, I
Mhm.
never dealt with that. Fortunately. How
That's good. Lucky for you.
about
Um,
you?
I have. I have been on both sides, like I said. So I'm going to talk about the being cheated on. It hurt so much, but at the time, again, the lack of knowledge of polyamory. I didn't know about polyamory then. For me, at the time, it wasn't the act of sleeping with somebody, it was the emotional connection that developed from that. That's what I consider the cheating part, and that's what hurt, because that person and I, we had sort of an understanding. There was no agreement necessarily. We didn't talk about it, but there was this subtle understanding that if something happens, we'll work it out. So when that something did happen, it happened with emotions and it was ongoing. And I just felt like, well, I didn't sign up to be number two. So I'm going to be gone. And it really hurt. So I think it was probably one of the hardest decisions that I had to make in my life, because it's like you love this person so much, but yet you still feel like you have to walk away for your own good, I guess,
Hmm.
because I love you, but I actually love myself more. So I'm gonna walk away. So that hurt. Um, and then I've been on the other end as well. It was more like a long distance, very long distance, two different countries relationship. And at the time, of course, they tell you you are monogamous and you are to stay faithful to this person no matter what. And so we were in a situation where it's thousands of miles away, maybe not thousands, but it was two different countries, and it was going to be a gap of a year, a whole year before we could see each other. So, of course, naturally, you make friendships, you develop friendships with other people, you start trusting people, and things happened. And so, of course, by the time I admitted to it, it was very hurtful for that person. I didn't listen. I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy the act of it. I didn't enjoy that I did that, but also I did it because I had a need that I was trying to fulfill.
Hmm.
And so,
We didn't even get to that part of it. Oh my goodness. Like people cheating because they got needs that's not being fulfilled. Like,
exactly, yeah, we didn't get to that part. Because so that relationship at the time, we were young and it
hmm.
was very intense. It was like your Romeo and Juliet kind of relationship, right? Very puppy love, and we're all over each other all the time, inseparable and all that stuff. And then boom, all of a sudden life separates you a whole country away. And
Hmm.
it's not like he can come see me. This is not like, oh, this person lives in Florida and you live in New Jersey and they can just hop on a plane and come see you whenever they feel like it, or you could do the same. It wasn't that. It was like they cannot come here. I'm the one who can go back and see them, but I just started a life here. I have to work. you know how work is here. You don't have vacation until after a certain amount of time. So you
Mhm.
can't leave. And it was hard because I remember the first time that this happened. It was, I wasn't planning on it, but I definitely had an itch. So, and it's like, oh my God. And I remember I was devastated the first time that it happened. And I felt so guilty, so bad about it. And eventually, I pretty much told myself that, I justified it to myself so I could be able to move on. Well, it didn't happen just the one time because it was going to be a long time before the year came. So it happened again and again. But
Mm.
I did confess to it when we truly started talking about um, getting married and like really get doing life together. I'm like, okay, you need to know this about me, and it's your decision at this point. You can
Mhm.
choose to stay, you can choose to go on with me, but I just feel like this is information that you need in order to make an informed decision. Because I would never want somebody to lead me into a marriage and not knowing what you did while we were together. It should be my choice.
Right.
And I even told him at the time, listen, I totally understand what happened here. And if you choosing to go your separate way, I would not even be mad because I considered myself in the wrong. And if you choose to also tell people why you didn't want to continue with me,
Mhm.
please feel free to, because again, I'm in the wrong, but I don't understand you. I don't expect you to understand where I'm coming from. So I had to come clean with that, and decisions were made based on that. And we were both happy with decisions that were made. So yeah. So we don't talk about the reasons why people cheat. Like, so that's why I asked, is there ever an acceptable reason for somebody to cheat?
Right.
So
You want my answer to that?
yes, I would like to know what you think.
You know what? Because I believe in individual agency, I
Mm-hmm.
believe in liberation. I believe that there are people out there who do have, who probably have some legitimate reasons why they make that decision. You know, so yeah, that's what I'll say. And I think it's a case by case situation. And I think that it's each individual's, right to decide that for themselves.
That's
I'm
always
no
what
one's
I've said.
judge.
What's that?
I'm no one's judge.
Exactly. That's always what I've said. Because, people usually say, well, cheating is cheating and it's bad. We're not condoning it, but I like to look at context. It's kind of like when you
Right.
commit a crime, right? They
Right.
usually look at the reasons that led up to that. Was it
Mhm.
intentional? Was it accidental? Um, did you have a reason? Like, was the reason justified? All of that. That's how they actually punish people, right? To know, okay, you're still gonna pay for your crime, but maybe we're not gonna give you as harsh of a sentence if it was accidental, or if it was justified. We're not necessarily gonna let you go free, but we're not gonna make you pay the worst price just because we have to consider why this happened.
Mhm.
But I think in society, we don't want to. We refuse to consider the reasons behind it. It's kind of like when people ask someone who is married and has an ill spouse, and this person is sick and is going to stay sick for a long time or even until they pass, right? Now, they expect you to just be non-sexual, non-romantic, non-engaged in every sense of the word until that person dies. And even after that person dies, you need to wait a certain amount of time before you can start your life over, because it's frowned upon. And they don't think about this person's desire. So this spouse can be ill for 4 years, 5 years. If somebody is sick with cancer, can you really ask them for sex? So in the meantime, if you as a person want to be sexual, what are you supposed to do? They're gonna tell you, well, maybe play with yourself or whatever. That's, I feel like that's the only time they will condone that, because it's usually not acceptable either, right? So I feel like every situation is different and unique and should be considered. Now, some people are just serial cheaters. That's what they do. They like the excitement of sneaking around.
Mhm.
And obviously, if you're monogamous, you don't need to be with somebody like that. And even if you're not monogamous, you don't need to be with somebody like that. Because I have a friend who's non-monogamous. They were openly non-monogamous, more specifically polyamorous, but apparently the boyfriend still cheated on her. And I'm
Mhm.
like, how? I'm trying to wrap my head around it. It's like,
Mhm.
how does your boyfriend cheat on you when he knows he can be with other people without sneaking around? So for some people, it's the excitement of being deceitful,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So there are a ton of reasons, and sometimes is people get too comfortable after they get in a relationship, whether you're married or not, you moved in together or not. They get very comfortable once they feel like, okay, I've got this person now, so I don't have to put out, because a lot of people just send their representatives. They do stuff, and when we're in love, we are doing things sometimes that we probably would not do in normal life too. So we commit to things that we probably would never commit to if we weren't in love. And in the moment, we truly think that we're going to uphold that promise, right? When we say till death do us part, we truly believe that. We don't think about what else can happen in the future that may cause me to not keep this promise that I'm making in this moment. We don't think about that because we're so into that love feeling that we don't think about the nuances of life that may
Yeah.
come
We
up.
don't understand that things change. It takes experience to realize that things change. You know,
Exactly.
when we're young, we just look at the storybook, we look at the fantasy, and we think one day I'm going to fall in love and I'm never going to love anyone else again. I'm never going
Exactly.
to crave or desire. I was actually shocked. I didn't think it was possible that I actually was attracted to other women because I was so into my wife. Like,
Mhm.
I thought that was supposed to like go away. Like, that's what I literally believed in my ignorant 20 something year old mind, that hold on, I'm in love and things are going good. There was nothing
Mhm.
wrong in my marriage when I started realizing I was attracted to other women. It was like, I thought that only happened if things weren't going good in my marriage. My marriage is great,
Right.
but yet I'm still attracted to other women. Like, what's going on? Am I broken? Because people lied to me. Like, the bottom line is society lied, people lied. People is just because, let's say, the people lie. Some people lie, but I'll say they didn't present the full picture. The people who had wisdom, for whatever the reasons may be. Again, indoctrination into societal
Mhm.
norms, indoctrination into religion. I know, wasn't I sleepy? I was ignorant. I was naive. You know,
Yes.
um, I was people. What was I saying? People. People are indoctrinated, and they believe even if they cheated, then something was wrong with them, but I should still not do it. Like, that's what some of the older people in my life, who wanted me to stay on the straight and narrow in terms of when I was, my marriage was ending, it was like, yeah, I messed up, I cheated, but you're supposed to be better than me. Like, there's all these like understandings. Again, I understand the way that it has also to do with just the evolution of human society. So many
Right.
things that we are in such a different place in 2025 than people who were growing up in 1975. The mindsets, the societal understandings, just the understanding of history, the access to information that we have access to that previous generations didn't, in terms of understanding human nature and these things, is
Yeah.
so different. But yeah, I was definitely that person that was, young and naive and think that that was supposed to shut off when I found my person and I was in love, and I just didn't think that I would even be interested in other people. And when I was like, man, I must be broken or something's up. So it's unfortunate. I feel for people who are still trying to fit into that box and who come into the awareness that they can't. I understand that, some people make that decision to cheat to keep their family together.
Right.
And I also understand, like I see here in the comments from Talia, who says there is no reason to cheat. I respect that comment. And what I think when I see things like that is it's important to find people who are aligned with you. Good
Right.
luck.
Yeah.
Good luck, because there's never been a time where people haven't been cheated on or haven't been cheating. So it's just important to find people who are aligned with you in that belief. And hopefully you're lucky enough that when you do, that person doesn't change.
Exactly.
And some people
Uh,
are.
yeah, I totally agree. Um, there is something called empathy. I'm not sure what that referred to. And Sleepy said, damn, you were like as fuck. Yes, I mean we all have been there. Um, and that's why I was so devastated the first time, because again, being a liar is not something I want to be called. But in that moment, I realized I was a liar. So that's why I was so devastated, because I thought I could do this. I'm gonna go to this whole other country, miles and miles away, and be without you for a whole year and not do the things that we used to do. I can do that. I truly believed it. But it didn't take long for me to realize, yeah, that was stupid. Um, so yeah, there are many reasons why people cheat. And although we're not condoning it, but I can definitely understand sometimes where people are coming from. And another reason we find so often, I'm gonna mention women just mainly because I hear it from men saying that once they're married, their wife doesn't want to have sex anymore, and this and that. Even watching porn is an abomination. Because I know a lot of people who get shamed for watching porn in church. They make people feel dirty for watching porn and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's entertainment. That's the kind of entertainment that somebody chooses. That's their own prerogative. I don't care. Actually, go watch it and go practice on me. Like, I'm all for it. I'm supporting this. So, yeah, so there are so many reasons why people cheat. And I'm not telling you to help this person justify their actions. You just have to choose whatever works best for you, choose the people who are aligned with you. And so you can have peace of mind, because nobody wants to constantly live in fear. Like if somebody looks at your mate, you're like ready to fight them, because how dare you look at my husband this way? Don't look at my husband. And they're all mad and all out of shape, bent out of shape because of just a look, or even somebody saying something. And I'm like, if you have to live like this, then this is not a life. You need to choose a different life, because you should not get so aggravated, so angry over somebody just looking at your partner, whether your wife, your husband, ready to kill somebody just because they look at your partner. So if somebody puts you in that situation, then you definitely need a different relationship. So we have just a couple, and then we're gonna go. So I'm late in the topic and transitioning from cheating into violence. Okay. If watching porn is an abomination, I'm super bad. Oh my god. Okay, so nobody, people who know this man are probably laughing at this. Great advice, me too. Thank you, Talia. Hopefully I'll see you Saturday. I'm gonna do a shameless plug. Insecurity. Yes, Lucida. Insecurity a lot causes people to get mad and feel a certain way when people look at their partners in a way that could suggest that the partner is being desired by somebody else. Actually, I used to think it was so hot when, again, in my young mind, it's like, oh yeah, you can look all you want, but he's coming with me, you know. Again,
Mhm.
that's another thing that society tells you. And that's why some women are like, well, who is he coming to at night after he does all those things with you? As long as he come home, I don't care what he does out there. So they indoctrinate us into believing that those are normal behaviors, and they tell us that, yeah, because we have wives who talk trash about the side chicks, but I'm like, honey, you can't talk trash about a side piece because this person is saying they go there to find joy. So and like they're just calling you basically their headache. So you okay with being the headache and them that going to find joy. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. We're about to go soon, so we can't open that can. I can count how many times folks have tried to fight me for thinking I'm looking at their girl. I can see that. Lots of people enjoy toxic relationships. I agree. They like the excitement of hot sex after a fight. So I don't know what that is. So all right. It is 10:16. Oh my God, time just flew by. I enjoyed this conversation, and I always enjoy a conversation with you, Sunjata. Thank you for saying yes again to coming on the show. Hopefully, this won't be the last. And I can't wait for you guys to be taking guests on your podcast, Sunshine and
Definitely
Rainbows
gotta hit
podcast. Yes,
Definitely
I would
gotta
like to come over and talk about nothing.
hit
um, but yes, if you guys haven't subscribed yet to their channels, please do so. It's Sunshine and Rainbows um, podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Have a good night. Thank you for joining us. And remember to follow all of us on social media. And we shall see you in a couple of weeks. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.